Hello again to another Agakala React, and today we'll be watching How Did Brazil Get So Big from it's a short animated documentary from History Matters. Another video that I'm reacting to it from the channel. They're usually very good, quite compressed, but they get the information out there. And I've been asked recently to make reaction about Brazil, so I did the top 10, and I figured that kind of learning how Brazil is such a big country, because it is a big country. Like, it takes quite a big chunk of South America, and no one really, I never really think about the fact that means it's big, like very big. So let's just learn how did it got so big, and yeah, and we'll know.
Brazil is one of the world's largest countries, but when it was first settled by Europeans, it was agreed that its borders would only look like this. So how was the end result so different? How did Brazil come to be so big?
Interesting.
So, when Christopher Columbus returned from the New World, he arrived in Lisbon. Given that he'd previously asked the Portuguese to fund his voyage, they knew his return meant that he found a route to Asia. Obviously, this was a new continent, but nobody knew at the time, and so the Portuguese prepared an armada to go there and take some land. The Spanish were worried about this, and so they did the only thing that they could. They told on Portugal to the Pope. He didn't want Portugal and Spain to go to war, and so he divided the world between them at this line, which gave Portugal this tiny sliver of land in the Americas. And the next year in 1494, the two renegotiated and Portugal's claim grew to this. Portugal kept within these bounds and both powers got along in the region. That was until 1580, when a succession crisis at home led to Portugal's throne being taken by the King of Spain. Both countries now having the same ruler meant that any territorial squabbles were mostly irrelevant. As such, there was no need to change anything. That was until change was forced upon Brazil when the Dutch turned up in the early 17th century. As you'll know, the Dutch at this point were revolting against the Spanish. Previously, the Portuguese were more than happy to let the Dutch trade with Brazil.
Gonna have to say, I heard something about it, but I can't say that I know much about how the Dutch up there revolted against Spanish up here. I mean, there's probably something to do with colonies, is it? The Dutch had colonies as well, but I don't think they had any colonies. Did they have any colonies in South America? I'm really terrible in the history of that part of the world, so like, sorry for that.
When the Netherlands and Spain kicked off again, the king barred them. The Dutch refused to accept this, and so just sailed to Brazil and took this land and named it New Holland. This wouldn't last for too long, and shortly after Portugal regained its independence, it took Brazil back. Eventually, the Portuguese wanted more from Brazil, and so decided to explore to the west so they could find either gold or slaves. This desire for riches led to some expansion to the west as well as to the south. Shockingly, Spain wasn't happy with this, and so in 1750 the two sat down and renegotiated their previous agreement. It was decided that Portugal would be entitled to take all of this, which was a massive increase, but at the cost of giving this to Spain. This may seem like a bad deal for Spain, but they agreed to it for two reasons. Reason one was that this land was mostly rainforest and so hard to use, and thus Spain didn't value it. And reason two was that this area was used as an avenue of smuggling goods in and out of the Spanish Empire. Now, both Spain and Portugal had a rough time during the Napoleonic Wars, with Spain becoming irreversibly weakened and the Portuguese royal family taking up residence in Brazil. As Spain's grip on the New World faltered, this region broke away with the intent of establishing an independent republic. The Portuguese used this lack of monarchy as a pretext to invade, and they soon took all of this in 1817. The soon independent Brazil wouldn't keep it for long though, since the British wanted to promote good relations with Buenos Aires, who claimed the land as their own. Fearing that a war would affect their trade, or worse, make them have to do something, it was agreed in 1828 that this land would become the independent state of Uruguay, and Brazil formalised the rest of its western and northern borders with its neighbours over the 19th century. The last remaining issue was this land here, which was claimed by both Brazil and France, but neither had done much to enforce it. As such, in 1895, French troops invaded, but were soon repulsed. And to prevent a major war, the issue went to international arbitration, which sided with Brazil. And that was the last major potential border change to the country, and it's how Brazil got to be the size that it is today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons.
I did enjoy
James
this episode.
Kelly Moneymaker, Sky Chappelle, Katoitska,
it was
Anthony
rather quick too. So basically it's all about just like the squabbles in between the kings in Europe. I mind, this is how we Europeans were, isn't it? It's a different continent, different part of the world. And it was there were people already living there, and obviously no one took like, mind, or maybe we guys, like literally he just said like, go to look for the gold or slaves. I'm like, I guess this is my 21st century way of thinking. But I'm guessing back then everyone was looking for free labor. And yeah, so that's what they were doing, just going and conquering world everywhere. Yeah, so I heard about the part about this, like is it Meridian? No, it's not Meridian. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I mean, like the one going north to south. And I didn't realize that was like changed like twice, but basically this is kind of that's what one time I heard that the explanation why Brazil speaks Portuguese and not Spanish. But no, this is as always very good video from History Matters, and yeah, that was good. I'm gonna have to look into kind of more. I'm not sure what else to watch about Brazil though. Probably some more food related stuff. Probably this, something like that. Yeah, that should be cool. I might do that reaction with Eric on Friday. Next Friday, or one of the coming Fridays anyway. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!